Have you ever wondered how to make AI respond specifically in the way that you want? In this video, I'm going to take you through on how to exactly fix those issues. And even better, your client will be able to update by themselves Q&A pairs that will enable the AI to answer in the way that they want. Okay, so how this works is we have a bunch of Q&A pairs in Excel, and our client specifically wants it to say, when we ask, can I install HVAC in my basement? So an air conditioner, it has to say specifically these words. Yes, many HVAC systems are designed for basement installation, those specific words. So currently, when we ask it this question, we don't actually have this currently in our knowledge base. So I've prompted it a little bit. So at least it says I don't have information about installing HVAC in a basement, even though it's actually not a bad answer because at least it's not hallucinating, but it didn't give the answer that we wanted to. So how to fix this issue and how to make it so the client can adjust, update, and delete questions, because they'll most likely be looking at the system as well when you build it out for them. All right, so what I've got here for you guys is a n8n setup. And what it's going to do is update our knowledge base with these Q&A pairs. So to do this, all we simply do is we type in the word add, and we just scroll down and we make sure add is in the task column. Once you've done that, we go back to our template right here. We click on execute workflow, and it's going to add about 50 questions or 49 questions. Now they all should be in our knowledge base. Okay, so let's ask it the same question again. So can I install HVAC in a basement? Put that in and see how it goes. Perfect. Exactly what we wanted. So this is useful for chatbots and voice AI, obviously. But if you're interested in how to make it work exactly like this, follow along with the video. So once you've gone in my Gumroad, you'll downloaded it, you'll click on the triple dots right here at the top, import from file, and you'll now have this template right here. Now, you'll most likely have to set up a few things. So in there as well, I had this right here. So I'll have it set up so you can just directly copy this exact sheet into your Google Drive. So once you've got this into your Google Drive, let's set up the Excel sheets first. So everywhere that you see this green document thing, this is what we then need to click and update. So let's jump into every single one of these. For every single one of these drop downs, you need to click on them to update them, even though it says the same thing here. So we say document, you'll click on this. Most likely be the first thing that's come up. Most likely in your case, if you didn't change the name, it'll be called copy of Q&A. And then in here, from list, click on Q&A pairs. If you haven't connected up Google Sheets with your n8n account yet, I am using the cloud version. So for me, all I really had to do was create a new credential, sign in with Google, and just click a button and it automatically did it for me. If you are self-hosting, I will try find a tutorial and I'll put the link below because most likely someone on the internet already explained this. So that will be step one here. And you'd have to repeat the process of jumping into these and selecting the drop downs for every single one of these for this module, and this module. And I call them modules because I use make.com so much, but they're called nodes in n8n. Right. So that will be the first step. So once you've done this, what's the next one? You might see all these like red things come up here, especially for the for all these HTTP modules. So what we're going to do next is go into your OpenAI account, and we need to grab your OpenAI key. So it looks like this. You'll click on create new API key, name it, click on this white button right here. You'll have that pop up. Once you have this popped up, you'll click on this embed node. And in here, you should already have bearer auth selected right here. But if you don't, you'll just click on bearer auth and then click on the drop down, create new credential, and then just paste in your OpenAI key right here. Once you've done that, just call it something nice so you remember what it is. All right, so I'm just going to close that because I already got that working for me. And that would be the step for this node and this node. Those are both the OpenAI modules. Okay, Next one is we need to ensure that we've got Google Gemini connected to our n8n instance. So how to do this? Well, you'll jump into aistudio.google.com. You'll grab your API key and create API key. Click this blue button right here. You'll get a pop-up. Once you've clicked on the pop-up, you might have another blue button right here. You'll click on create API key in new project if you've never created one before. And then just copy your API key, jump back into here, click on this module, and then create new credential. And then you will just paste in your API key into this section right here. All right. I've already done so I'm not going to repeat that. So far, we've done Google Sheets. We've done the OpenAI modules right here. And we've connected Google Gemini. Now, why did I do all these things? So just to explain a little bit, Google Gemini is very quick and it's almost for free. And especially Gemini 2.0 Flash. I love it because it can take a huge context window. And I think the response time of it is unmatched between Foro Mini or like any OpenAI modules. Right? So that's why I use it for voice AI, especially because then I need to have a really quick response time. But if you do a text-based agent, you could probably go with OpenAI here. I think it'll have better success at calling Quadrant at every single time. Okay, next up, we want to jump into this thing called Quadrant. This video isn't really for explaining what a vector database is, right? So if you haven't got a Quadrant account, I recommend getting started. So you click on this nice reddish orangey color. So once you've created your account, you'll see something that looks like this. It might get you to this get started page. So just click on the left-hand side, go to clusters, and we'll create this and we'll call it HVAC-KB. Now in here, you can choose the provider and region. And I'm in Europe right now, so I'm going to choose Frankfurt. So it'll be a little bit quicker for me. And we click on create free cluster. And this will spin up your instance while it's loading. You get this come up. I highly recommend copying everything from here because we'll be using it in a second. So let's copy all this. And then we need to copy this endpoint as well and just put it onto that same notepad that we have on there somewhere on your screen. And just in case you missed your API key, you can click into this tab right here and create a new one just in case you lost it, because we will need it in a sec to log into our database. And once you've got that information, you click on cluster, and this is now where we put in our API key. Click on this, apply, and we can now go on the left-hand side, go to collections, and just leave that right here. And then we'll come into this and replace the URL of that endpoint that we copied before. So it was this thing right here. So for you, it will be different. And then we'll just leave this collection name as is. Now, in this Quadrant URL, we also need to paste it into this main set node right here. So just paste that in, just replace whatever was there. The setup, I think, takes the longest, but once you've done this, you won't have to do it ever again. So once we come into here, we have to click on this node right here. And in our header auth, you would click on the drop down and create new credential. We just grab our API key and paste it in like so. So you have in the name, where it says name, you have API key. Now at the top, I just called it HVAC YouTube. We'll click on save, close this. Now we can go back and now repeat the same process for this upsert module here. So you just come in and just make sure HVAC YouTube is selected. Same in this module, in the search points, and then the delete module right here. All right, so when we click on execute workflow now, we should see OK come up. We'll come back into our Quadrant. We'll just refresh this. And now we can see a collection called HVAC Q&A. And this is where all those Q&A pairs are going to get stored. And this is where we're going to retrieve this information for it. What I'm going to do now is move down this when clicking execute workflow and just connect it back to our main setup right here. So we have to click on this node, Quadrant Vector Store, click on the drop down, create new credential, and we'll have to put in our API key followed by the Quadrant URL. We click on save. Let's call this HVAC YouTube. So the next step is to put our Q&A pairs into our database. So we'll now go back to our Excel sheet, and to add things to our knowledge base, we need to type in the word add. So when we do this, and then we go back to our Quadrant, into our n8n, we click on execute workflow, and you should now see all this run and then update automatically. So Excel sheets should now say added. Our Quadrant collection should now have points, should be 1 here right now. We can click into it right here. You can click on this, and you should see the content, which is the question followed by the answer. We can now repeat the same process for all the other ones. So we can just click on the drop down and just click on this and drag all the way down. And we can click on execute workflow, and it will now update all those other 48 questions that we have. So now it's just converting them into numbers. All this 48, it's now upserting 48, and then just updating our Excel sheet. Now all of this has been added, and all those questions are now in our collection. So now if I refresh this, all these are in here. So every single question and answer pair are now placed into our database. It's pretty cool, right? And if we ever want to update a question, so let's say we want to update, how do I install my AC unit? And for some reason we don't like this answer, we want to add a little bit more to it from our company. And then let's say the company is called XYZ Air Conditioning, right? So we want to update the name. So here in the task, we type in the word update. And by the way, the 3 words that we only use here are add, update, and delete. So you exactly have to type in it like so. Once we've clicked on this, we can now click on execute workflow. So now that should say the status should now say updated. We'll jump back into our Quadrant and see if we can find that question. There we go, I found it. So how do I install my AC unit? And then it's from a company called XYZ Air Conditioning. And if we ever want to delete a point, so if we go back into our collection and we just click on back, we can see currently there are 49 points, which means there are 49 Q&A pairs. If we ever want to delete one, so let's say your client just doesn't want that question anymore, he just types in delete, and then it will then delete that completely from our database. So if we go back now, it was 49. If I refresh, it's now 48. You might be thinking, well, does he still have to go into n8n and click on this button and manually update it each time? No. What you guys could do is set this on a schedule. So then you would run the on schedule trigger, which so you could run it every hour, you could run it twice a day, you could run it every 60 seconds, and it will poll this Excel sheet. And if something exists within this Excel sheet that is triggered actually by this column right here, I think this is one of the most important columns in this build, because what this array formula here does is it checks whether, so I'll just show you, for example, if it's delete and deleted, it will say no to run. But if I delete this word, then it will say yes to run, because then it thinks the status isn't completed yet. So same with the add. If I remove the word added, it will say yes to run. If I then also have update, so they don't match, it will say yes to run. And we filter this by, we filter this in our get rows sheet. So when a value is yes, that's when it will retrieve all those rows where it says yes. So that's how we control how we get these on what to update, what to delete, and what to add. So at the moment, we don't want to change anything, so we're just going to have it like this. I'm going to now just jump into like a bit more technical stuff. So explain maybe the little details of this build, so that if you wanted to make this your own a little bit more, then you would be able to. All right. So this top row is basically the row that controls what we put into Quadrant. So what we put into here. Now, let's say you don't just want the content to be put in there just like this. Maybe you want some kind of other metadata that you can filter by or whatever else. So I'm going to change you how you can add extra fields into here, basically. So what you would do then is click on embed, and in here from the input right here, you will then have to select the things that you want to insert into from your Excel sheet. So let's actually just do it. So let's go add, and that should now run this one. So I'll just show you how that works. So we click on execute workflow, and then what that did is it converted the question and best answer from my Excel sheet. So these two things right here, it put them into this section right here, which then gets converted into these things called embeddings. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there is 1,530 more of those in here. And that's based on whatever we put in here. So every single thing that you see in here actually has the vectors. So you can't see it in the UI, but it's there in the back. Next up, would like to how the actually upsert works into Quadrant. So in this is the module that actually does it all initially. So we need the ID, which is created by this module right here, this point ID. And I've just created some random math formula here that creates us a randomized thing. And that actually then becomes this thing right here. So they'll be all unique. The content source, as you guys see, this is our thing in Quadrant right here. So this is where I got it from. And the content right here is this. So that's what then gets appended into right here. Now, the things that we actually search by is dependent on this vector thing right here. Yeah, it's based off of this node. And I think one thing I also wanted to point out is that the collection name is dependent on what you put into here at the start. So I called it HVAC Q&A, and that's what the name is as well. And it really also does matter what you put in here as well. So you would need to select from this Quadrant collection. If this one wasn't working for you, you need to select HVAC Q&A as well. So yeah, that's the adding part. The updating part does a similar thing. How it actually works is it completely overrides the ID based off that unique identifier. And this unique identifier is put into our Excel sheet. So it's actually quite important to not delete any of these or touch them, especially if you want to update or delete these later. So I'll just show you. So if we want to update, it will grab this point ID. It will find it within this collection. And once it finds it, it will then update that one based off that number. So if that number is not in your Excel sheet, it won't work. Same with the search points. It then searches it by that point ID. Once it finds them, it will find all the ones that we marked to be deleted. This code node will then run and just convert this array that we got back, and it will put them into individual items so that each item can be deleted by itself. I think you can also do batch delete, but this knowledge base really isn't much. It's just 50 questions, so it's nothing at all. And then it will update each one by itself. So just to show you how it's going to work, actually, let's just delete 3. And now 3 of these will run, and then these 3 points should then be completely deleted. All right, so now if we click on this right here, you guys now see it now search for 3 of them, found 3, it then executes the 3 items and delete the 3 of them, and then update those 3 rows, and now they are now gone. So they are not in our knowledge base anymore. So let's say we want to add them back in. We just click on add. I'll type add and then go back and execute workflow, and it will now add them back in. There you go. I think this is really beautiful. I think it works nicely. This is definitely one of the more technical videos I've done in a little while. This is the most simple version of the build that I actually had to build for my client. This is why I actually made this video. So I was actually building this similar solution for my client. This is definitely aimed not at a beginner. So if you've never done this stuff, this will be something your brain should be smoking right now. But yeah, if you want to learn more stuff like this in our free school community, We don't actually show stuff like this, but in our paid community, we in the process of making courses for stuff like this, where it'll explain things in a lot more detail. But yeah, that's where you will learn on how to actually do these things yourself. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.